The defendant, AU Hospital, in response to a subpoena not accompanied by a court order, impermissibly disclosed the protected health information, PHI, of one of its patients, Jennifer, who is the plaintiff here today. Contrary to the privacy rule protections for information sought for administrative or judicial proceedings, the defendant failed to show proof that reasonable efforts had been made to ensure that the patient, the plaintiff, whose PHI was being sought, received notice of the request and or failed to receive satisfactory assurance that the party seeking the information made reasonable efforts to secure a qualified protective order. Even though the defendant says that attempts were made by email and letters, there is no proof of these return letters, nor is there proof of emails that were sent to her. As to her phone being disconnected, there is also no proof of calls being made to her. Also, the defendant claims that they followed their hospital policy and released the requested protected health information, which the subpoena requested, and ensure the privacy of the plaintiff. Contrary to that, the plaintiff also claimed her social security number, address, phone number, hospital records, which includes her family history and her financial records, were also included in the subpoena. She has proof of this because she was alerted by her financial institution about possible breach. The plaintiff's privacy was not kept and maintained by the defendant. According to HIPAA, which is Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, Privacy Rule 45 CFR Part 160 and Subparts A and E of Part 164, it restricts disclosures and limits the use of PHI without the permission of the patient. When a covered entity or business associate contemplates disclosing PHI, it must obtain written authorization from the patient to disclose information. Prior to disclosure, in Privacy Rule 45 CFR 164, and must also close records of disclosures of PHI. However, HIPAA provides for certain legitimate disclosures of PHI that do not require written authorization from patients. These exemptions include disclosure of PHI in order to facilitate medical treatment of the patient or billing, as well as other health care operations, as to minimize the potential for unintended harm by imposing a duty to make a reasonable effort to disclose only the minimum PHI necessary required to achieve a legitimate end. Covered entities also have a responsibility to appoint a privacy official as well as a contact person to field patient or health consumer complaints and train staff and employees to comply with Privacy Rule 45 CFR 164.530 A and B. The defendant therefore was in violation of the privacy rule and the willful neglect was not corrected. The subpoena was not accompanied by a court order, so therefore the defendant was not obligated to disclose the patient's PHI. Because the said attempts made by the defendant proved futile, the plaintiff had no knowledge of her PHI being disclosed and didn't have the opportunity to agree to the disclosure. Therefore, I am in favor of the plaintiff.